Okay, let's not do number 5. Why? You're going to fail this next test if you're playing on your phone and not playing with the math class. Why am I going to skip number 5? Yes, the leading coefficient of 3, I'm going to put it off to later. I'm going to do number 6 instead. What can I do on 6? And tell me what that GCF is, please. Okay. I know I heard it from 4. He said GCF first. We'll give him the point. I'll give everybody a point if someone will finish this. Okay, every group can have a point. I have one group in here yesterday that forgot to turn in a number strip. Again, if you don't have a number strip left somewhere near your desk, or you don't make sure it gets in my hands or whatever, like there is no number strip, don't know where it went, what happened, you get a 0. So don't be that group. Number 7, you're going to use, so if we use grouping, 2 gets a point, and then he's on it, take out an X. Now say what, Travis? Okay, but what should I write on my paper? Something's still missing, dude. Okay. I have someone in first period, and clearly I have some people in here who, when they do grouping, especially when it's an easy group like this, and I'm only pulling on a 1, they forget to write down the +1. Or I have this girl in first period, and she's really good at factoring, but when it comes to grouping, when she pulls out something, she forgets to put the sign. She'll like pull out a 4, but not put +4. She'll pull out a -3, but not put -3. She'll just put 3. Why does the sign matter? Why does the sign matter? It does. It changes the entire thing, because on the next line I put x + 1, y - 2. She's questioning her whole life. On the next step, she doesn't know whether to put x + 1 or x - 1. And it's not supposed to be that deep. So literally, if she'll stop making a mistake on this line will never be an issue, and she'll reach the 2 solutions. Okay, let's back up to number 5. What do I use when there's a leading coefficient bigger than 1? I do use guess and check, so you can have a point. But this one's kind of an easy guess because of that 3. My only options are 1 and 3. So I know there's a 3p and a p. It's not like when it's 4 and you can do 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. There's really nothing you can do here. Yes, dear. -5 and +1. Let's see. Now, I know he might be right, because our only options were 1 and 5. It's just, is it a -1 or is it a -5? And then where to put them in what spot. Another reason why he might be right is because, this sounds strange that I already knew this. Again, I've been factoring for forever. And honestly, you've been factoring for a while too, so maybe you should start thinking of these things. If we had put the 1 here and the 5 here, first might have worked, last might have worked, but outer would have been 15p. That's way too big. So I know he's right to put the 5 to the left. It's just, did he make a sign error? And we're going to find out, because you do guess and check, you actually need to check. So first, 3p squared, outer plus 3p, inner minus 5p, last minus 5. He is correct, because +3, -5 gives you -2. So he has guessed correctly. Every other class period, we've had to do multiple guesses, so I'm impressed. Grady, you get a point. Okay, yesterday we ended mid-problem. Let's just back up to it. I believe we were in our notes, and I don't know, she took my work. She brought it back, yay! We were in our notes, we were on zeros of polynomials, finding all the zeros. We're on number 2, perfect. Remember, right? That was terrible. Let me remind you what we're doing. We're finding all the zeros for a given function. So number 2, the first thing we did was graph it. So go ahead and regraph it. Type in that big long thing. X to the 4th. plus 6x to the third. Go ahead and regraph this entire long thing to make sure we're on the same page. Maybe we slept since then and we need to go back through it. I thought that was you, which is strange. Okay, so we were here yesterday. We knew we had something to the fourth power. We knew it had a leading coefficient of a 1. So since it was to the fourth power and it had a leading coefficient of a 1, we thought, hey, this is going to be a W. And then when we pressed graph, we were real sad because that is not a W. That looks just like a U. But we decided it was okay because some of our answers might be, what if they're not on the screen? What are they then? They're imaginary. 4 gets the point. Yeah, so some of our answers might be imaginary, so it's okay that we don't see this W. There's probably another hump just up here in space somewhere. And then what Jessica was coming back to, which is why she got so many points yesterday, was we realized there was a bounce at -3, which meant there is a multiplicity there. So literally we're supposed to get 4 answers. We already know 2 of our answers are -3. -3, -3, and we just need the other 2. And we can already tell from this graph that since they're not crossing the x-axis, the other 2 answers are imaginary numbers. So seriously, it's degree 4. Allison needed 4 answers. She knows 2 of them are -3. The other 2 are imaginary she needs to find. But she got all that just by looking at the graph. She didn't actually do any math. As for the math that needs to be done to figure out the list of 4, we did synthetic division because that's our new go-to. So back to the first test of chapter 1. And we were really excited to get a remainder of 0. If we're not getting a remainder of 0, we've completely screwed up. Because in order for that to be an answer, we better get a 0 every time. So again, -3 is 2 of our answers. If you want to erase that multiplicity of 2 part and you just want to list them all 4 out, 2 of our answers are -3. Okay, so we were doing synthetic division. We brought down the 1. 1 times -3 is -3. 6 minus 3 is 3. 3 times -3 is -9. 73 minus 9 is 64. 64 times -3, -192, and etc. So we got to this. We had started off degree 4, so our answer starts off degree 3. And that's how we got this blue line, x to the third plus 3x squared plus 64x plus 192. Are there any questions about this line and where it came from? Yes, dear. Go ahead and tell me. Yeah, you can have a point. It is. Be brave and try 4. Okay, so we decided since there were 1, 2, 3, 4 things, well, we decided we were going to call it quits because it was right before the bell. But we were about to do grouping since there were 4 of them. If we're going to do grouping, we're going to take out an x squared. We're left with an x plus 3. What do we take out of the second group? What are we hoping to get as our answer? We're hoping to have the x plus 3 in parentheses, so we pray a 64 comes out. You might want to confirm 64 times 3 really is 192, but that's what we're hoping happens. It is, she said. Okay, so we already had that x plus 3. We just found out that x squared plus 64. And then we have another x plus 3. Well, first of all, they did not leave enough room on these notes for all the maths that needs to be done, but it is what it is. So I'm going to rewrite that at the top. I've still got the x squared plus 64. I'm going to leave it alone for a second. But I'm smart. I've got x plus 3 and x plus 3, so I have x plus 3 twice, so I've got x plus 3 squared. But again, still not surprised by this because we already saw from the little hump on our graph, because our graph had that little hump. Where's my graph go? Because of that bounce at -3, we already knew it had a multiplicity of 2. So we're not at all surprised about this. Okay, so if we set this equal to 0, we set each of these equal to 0. You already know x plus 3 equal to 0 gives you the x equals negative 3. Duh, yay, we got that one. Woo! The issue is with the other one, the x squared plus 64. So Brady actually already saved the day. He said x squared plus 64 equal to 0. X squared equals negative 64. He understands when he takes a negative under a radical, he needs to use I. So he's got x equals plus or minus square root of 64i. Thank you, dear. He knows the square root of 64 is 8. Hence why Brady didn't even tell me all this. He just went straight to plus or minus 8i. If you understood all that and can go straight to plus or minus 8i, thank goodness. If not, no one on earth is going to count off because you show work. Negative under the radical, you had to use I. But we knew we were going to need I because we knew the other two answers weren't shown on the graph. If they were shown on the graph, we wouldn't need I. Okay, so now we finally have 4 answers. Negative 3, plus 8i, minus 8i. Yay. It was degree 4. We have 4 answers. We're done. Are there any questions about number 2? It's negative 3, because the twice. It happened twice. And then plus 8i, minus 8i. But if you don't want to list off negative 3 twice because you think that looks stupid, if you want to put negative 3 and underneath it put multiplicity 2, it's going to mean the same thing. Multiplicity 2 means it showed up twice. And guess what? It did. It showed up twice. Okay, well, let's go to 4 and let's graph it. I'm assuming because, again, positive leading coefficient, degree 4, I'm assuming it's going to be what letter? Yes, 2. You can have your point. I'll let you can have your point. You can take one away from her. It's a W because of the positive bits. But let's graph it and see. So 5x to the 4th minus 8x to the 3rd plus 41x squared minus 72x minus 36. I don't know about you, but that is not a W. How many answers do you see on your graph? So what does that mean about the other two? They're imaginary. So we're going to have 2 real answers, 2 imaginary answers. Yay. It's degree 4, 2 real, 2 imaginary. Perfect. What's one of the real answers? 5 gets a point, but in case we doubt her, what button should we press? Trace. If we press trace and then 2 to make sure she's not crazy. No, she's not. When we type in 2, we get 0. Perfect. And then Travis is on the same wavelength. He's starting to guess the other answer. He realizes, can I zoom in? He realizes it's going to be a decimal because it's between 2 little hash marks. He thinks it's negative 0.5. And so I press trace and then negative 0.5. And sad day, it's not. That's going to work out on a different problem for us, but sometimes, no, that's not, it could be any decimal, and sadly, it's not negative 0.5. You want to tell me what it is?
It's negative 2/5.
Yes, it is. And what were the other answers?
2 and plus or minus 3i.
Perfect. Now go ahead and do 7. Okay, Brady's fast. He can be fast. I'm slow. I'm going to keep being slow. Okay, yeah, it wasn't negative 0.5, so we don't know that one. But we do know 2, so we at least have one of our 4. So at the end of the day, we need 4 answers. And I know one of my 4 is 2. Now, I agree, it looked like negative 0.5, and we could probably guess some decimals and figure it out if you want to. But there are faster ways. We like synthetic. Let's use synthetic. Hopefully that's going to lead us there a little faster. So 2, I've got a 5, a negative 8. 41, negative 72, negative 36. Yes, dear. Yeah. Because it crossed at 2. And so, to make sure, I pressed trace 2. And for sure it did cross at 2 because y was 0. No, it's a good question. Okay, so since I know 2 is one of the answers, I'm going to use synthetic with 2. I bring down my 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 41 plus 4 is 45. 45 times 2 is 90. 90 minus 72 is 18. 18 times 2 is 36. And I know I'm right even though I did all of that fast because why? I got the remainder of 0. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 41 plus 4 is 45. 41 times 2 is 90. 90 minus 72 is 18. 18 times 2. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we were starting off with x to the 4th. So when I write my answer, now that we've used synthetic, I got to start off at 1 degree less. So 5x to the 3rd plus 2x squared plus 45x plus 18. And then if you want to write this, you can. You do not have to. We already know it's an answer. But I write it anyway because I'm a nerd. I realize it has to be x minus 2 in order for me to get the positive 2. I write it because I like to see all 4 of them at the end. If you don't want to write it, because again, we've already handled him. He's already in the answer box. You don't have to. Okay, so ignoring him, there are 4 terms. So we're hoping to use grouping. Okay, so if we take out an x squared, we're left with a 5x plus 2. If we take out a 9, we're left with a 5x plus 2. Oh, thank goodness. That one didn't work. So I've got the x minus 2 from the original. I now have the x squared plus 9. And I have 5x plus 2. Okay, so I need to set each of these equal to 0. And Lord knows I'm out of room, so I'm going to do it over here on the side. If I set x minus 2 equal to 0, of course I get the x plus the x equals 2. Duh, we have that one already. We handled this one. If I set the 5x plus 2 equal to 0, and that's why your group gets a point, Caitlin. You get 5x equals negative 2, so x equals negative 2/5. So now we finally know, if we went back to our graph, we discussed that this weirdo guy over here, we didn't exactly know what decimal. It's going to be negative 2/5, which is negative 0.4. We can confirm that. Trace negative 2 divided by 5. Sure enough, she's right. So even though we did trace and typed in a fraction, it still confirmed that Caitlin was correct. Okay, so we've got our 2 real answers, the 2 we saw on the graph. Now we've got to deal with the 2 imaginary. So we already know the answer is going to have an I in it. So don't tell me something unless you got an I. Yeah, it's going to be plus or minus 3i. Thank God y'all are getting this now, yes. For those of us who did not have our Wheaties this morning, set it equal to 0. X squared equals negative 9. Take the square root. And that's how we're getting square root of a negative, so plus or minus 3i. Equals plus or minus 3i. Okay, I had someone last period ask me, no, it was the first period? I don't know. It's like my 4th time doing this. I had someone ask me, what if we forget the plus or minus on the test? What do y'all think about that? What if we forget the plus or minus? Then what? Okay, so I'm not going to count off much because, my God, if they persevered and got all the way there, like, Jesus take the wheel. So I'm only going to count off 1 or 2 points. But why is it technically wrong then? I'm with Travis. I'm going straight up. You said there were 4 answers. If you had 2 negative 2/5 and just plus 3i, that's not 4 answers. That's only 3. It was degree 4. You had to have 4 answers. So again, Drea and everyone else in the world can count. Hopefully, she's not even here with her. Hopefully you would think through, hey, I'm supposed to have 4 things. Do I have 4 things? Yes, no. Okay. Yay, fun times. Okay, let's see. Let's do number 7. It's going to be by far your favorite. So let's skip straight to it. 7. 7 will save the day. I might be nicer to y'all than I was the previous 2 periods. We'll see. Depends on what your answer is. Okay, so number 7, I've got a positive 2 leading coefficient. I'm degree 4, so I should have gotten a W, and maybe that's a W written drawn by a 2-year-old, maybe. And Brady's been working hard and hard and hard on this one, and I'm about to break his heart. Actually, I don't know. Brady probably didn't overthink it. Are you sure? You did 2x to the 4th minus 3. Did you, what's your zoom set on? Are you zoom standard? Yeah, you want to zoom standard. Zoom fit's great, but if we're trying to specifically see where stuff's crossing the x-axis, zoom standard is the way to go. Okay, so start telling me about what we see. What are my answers? Okay, let's see. They said 4. Let's confirm the 4. Trace, 4. Yep. 4 is one of them. You got a negative 2. Yes, and then we think we have a 1.5. You know, Mason might have just shaved the day. Let's see. And he's actually correct. Okay. And you know what? So let's write down our answers. We found, let's see. We found a 4, a 1.5, and a negative 2. Okay, but sad day. It's degree 4. So you can either do that, or you can literally write them all out. If I have negative 2 twice, 1.54. Do not care. You know, I've made every other class period work this one out. And then I told them it was okay if they said this. But I am lazy, and you are very smart, and you already figured all this out. If you happen to have one like this, where you can literally see all 4 answers, because that's 2 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they were all real answers, and you could figure them out with the graph. Why do we need to worry about factoring and synthetic division or anything else? We already know all 4 answers. We were just using synthetic and the factoring to help us with the weirdo decimals and the i's. There are no i's. There are no weirdo decimals. Why do we need to do any of the other work? We don't. So if you have one like this on the test, I don't care if you put use my graph and just have the answers listed. But there's always that potential of what if you messed up, blah, 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 blah. But literally, I don't care if you just put use my graph and have the 4 answers listed and don't have math to show, because why? Why, if we already know all 4? We figured them all out with the graph. The whole point of what we were doing was to figure out missing ones. There are none missing. Okay, we've got 3 problems left. I want to do one more. Which one looks like it would be the easiest to do? 5, 6, or 8. He's wrong. Why is it 5? Yeah, it's degree 3. There should be fewer answers. Should take less time. Let's do 5. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. So let's graph 5 on our calculators and look at it. We're thinking it's going to be, because it's a leading coefficient of a positive 8 and it's degree 3, what should it look like?
It should look like a
Snake, and then I heard up the wall. I know it was 2 and 4. I assume 5 as well to get points. You know what happens when you assume this. So you know what, since I'm assuming everybody get a point. I did get a snake. It is going up the wall. But the snake still makes me sad. Why does the snake make me sad? Poor snake. Why are we mad at the snake?
because you can't really
Well, yeah, that's confusing. That is true. If you guess it, it only touches the x-axis once. So that means the other two answers are imaginary. So pain in my rear, there's only one real answer. And like Landon was saying, which is why his group's getting a point as well as Jessica's, is it stinks because where it's touching is not an actual whole number. -1/2? Trace, -1.5. He's wrong.
No, like half, sorry.
Trace, -0.5. Darn it, he's right. So we figured out one of our three answers. It's -1/2. So again, he literally guessed it. If you're having trouble with the guessing part, we've done it before. We could do it again. I like trace. Trace is great, but you can always go old school with second calculate. Make it do zeros. But again, that requires you to go way back in the day and remember how you had to set those bounds and go a little to the left and a little to the right. And then you had to make a guess, and then it told you the answer, and then sometimes it was slow. You remember? You don't. I mean, we can still do that. It didn't go away. Okay, so we're on number 5. We need 3 answers. We know one of the 3 answers is -0.5, which is the same thing as -1/2. We've got to figure out the other 2. We know they're imaginary. We thought this problem was going to be easy, and it's not. Why is the -1/2 a pain in the rear besides the fact that it was just hard to figure out on the graph? Do I like doing synthetic with fractions? Heck no. No. So I'm going to somehow change this bad boy to go back to some long division. 2 and 5 get a point. Now, this is not your first rodeo. You and I both know if I show you 2x plus 3 equals 0, you're supposed to know that's x equals -3/2. So I need something like that. So when I set it equal to 0, I get x equals -1/2. Does anyone know what that answer is? And if so, 2 points. What if I want to go backwards? What if I don't want the answer? What if I want to go back to this form before I had the answer? What should I go back to for this one? I could break them apart, but what would it be? 2x and then what? Then you can have 2 points. Now, do you have to do one like this on the test? I pray no. I will make sure you don't, because that is too much thinking involved with that. But again, in my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, I subtract 1, 2x equals -1, divide by 2, -1/2. Yes, that does become -1/2. So I'm going to do 2x plus 1, which we figured out, because I don't want to live in fraction land, because La Pass. And I'm going to use long division with 8x to the third plus 14x squared plus 11x plus 3. Again, the reason I did all this is because I got this fraction and I don't like synthetic with fractions. So long story short, there shouldn't be a single graph on your test where if you cross the x-axis only once, that one spot is a decimal, because that would lead to this situation. Okay, but we can handle this. 2x to 8x to the third, I got to do 4x squared. 2 times 4 is 8. X times x squared is x to the third. 1 times 4x squared is 4x squared. Now, right now, 8 and 8 do not cancel out. We have to change everybody's sign. Eight minus 8, I get 0x to the third. 14 minus 4, I get 10x squared. I bring down my 11x. 2 to 10x squared, well, I have to multiply by 5x. So 2 times 5 is 10. X times x is x squared. 1 times 5x is 5x. Right now, if I added straight down, I would have 20. I've got to change everybody's sign so that the 10s will cancel out. About to write on top of my other work. Sad day. 11 minus 5 is 6x. I bring down my 3. And I say 2 to 6x. Well, I just got to add 3. 2 times 3. 2x times 3 is 6x. 1 times 3 is 3. I change everybody's sign, and I get, which is what I was supposed to get because that was one of my factors. So if I hadn't gotten 0 with synthetic or log or whatever it is you used, you made a mistake. We're supposed to get 0 on all of these. Okay, so we did all this junk. And now Caitlin has this one because that stupid negative 1/2. And now she has this one because she used long division. And if she sets them equal to 0, duh. For this one, like we're discussing, she'll get x equals negative 1/2 out of that one. What's she going to get out of this one? Where have we seen one like this recently? Why do we do the same things all day? Huh? What do you think you're supposed to do to get the answers to that one? You would think S and check, but you and I both know they don't cross the graph. So they're imaginary, which means you can't factor it. So why bother to factor it? You can't. It's not factorable. You just put imaginary.
That wasn't our test.
And that was on your test. My God, you can have a point, Caitlin. Somebody else can have a point. If you can tell me specifically, I'll give 2 different points. 1, what problems were you just allowed to write imaginary numbers underneath them? Difference of perfect cubes. Yes. 4, you can have a point. You could figure out those 2 answers with the eyes and everything, but I don't make you because it requires what? And I don't want to go that far back in the day. But you're going on to pre-cal after this. Yeah. And we require the quadratic formula. So in pre-cal, if you went into this scenario, sadly enough, negative b plus or minus squared, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, and work it on out. But in Algebra 2 with trig, we're going to say, those are imaginary as long as you acknowledge the fact that you have a negative 1/2 and then 2 imaginary guys on this specific kind of problem, you're good to go. Okay, I am done rambling about these. We will practice the last few tomorrow. If you're wanting to practice some on your own, which would be wise because you're the one taking the test, I would go ahead and try some of the ones on the study guide, specifically 9 through 12. But if you're wanting like a confidence booster, do 5 through 8 because they already tell you one of the guys. They're like, hey, this is one of my factors. So 1 is one of the spots that crosses the x-axis. So 5 through 12 would all be perfectly great. The study guide will be due Friday.